So yeah, my name is Viktoria Eriksson. I am just about to graduate in less than a month for my sociology PhD, so I'm very excited about that. I'm here today to talk about something that's not what I did my PhD on. It's some work that I did for the Scottish Government, and the title, Making Survey Data Sexy, was really just to catch your attention. I could have called it Making Survey Data Accessible, visually pleasing, and I think you can do that by creating an interactive dashboard. So next slide, please. Today, I'll talk a bit about my work with the Scottish Household Survey and the process of creating an interactive data explorer or data dashboard with them that we decided to call the Data Explorer, and some of the impacts that that work has had to date. So next slide, please. Oh no, back. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know about the Scottish Household Survey, it's run by Scottish Government, sort of carried out by, what are they called? I can't remember, but it's an annual survey of 10,000 households, and it's been running since 1999. It's cross-sectional, not longitudinal, but there's a lot of data that they've captured over the years. And how they used to report all their data yearly were these huge Excel workbooks. I mean, there was so much data that it didn't even fit in one workbook. It was 2 Excel files, and they were really cumbersome to work with. And they were really resource intensive as well. So 2 staff were working for 3 months of the year just to prepare these Excel workbooks. So when I joined the team, we saw a real opportunity to make the reporting format better fit for purpose. Next slide, please. So I'll talk about these 3 points in the talk. This is really how we saw the design process of creating a new reporting format. So we really want to identify what do our users of the data need, and what could that look like? And then we want to make sure that we test it so that it's actually working, and then you just go around. So it's a very iterative process. It involves speaking to the data users at every stage, because there's no point in spending lots of time, energy on something that people aren't going to use anyways. So next slide, please. So the first step, which is identifying the need, we spoke to people that we knew were using the ACHDS data. We've sent out some questionnaires. We also spoke to them on the phone, and we found out that the current users of the data were civil servants. A lot of the Scottish Household Survey data is used by civil servants to benchmark how local authorities as well as national level how they're doing in terms of policy evaluation. So the Scottish Government have key performance indicators called a National Performance Framework. So this kind of, this kind of data is really important for that. We also found that academics use the data for research, and charities use it for research as well as lobbying. And when we asked them what they need from the data, they said that they need a big element of visualization in terms of graphs and tables. They also really like the idea of being able to download bespoke reports. So really, it's all about being able to explore the data. Next slide, please. So with these needs in mind, we thought that perhaps an interactive dashboard could be the way forward. And for those of you that don't know what it is a tool for the user to directly interact with your data. They tend to be online. They tend to be dynamic and with a big element of data visualization. There are different ways that you can create these. You can do it with R Shiny, Tableau, Power BI. We decided to go with R Shiny because there's a growing team of R nerds in the Scottish Government. So that's what we went for. And in terms of resources, we had myself, I was full-time designer. R Shiny knowledge was nil. I had never done it before. I knew R, but I had never worked with Shiny before. But I was really lucky that I had a part-time web developer whose R Shiny skills were like wizard. He was really, really good. And it had taken a lot longer if I hadn't had him on my side. But we also did lots of Googling, of course. And we took inspiration from already existing Shiny dashboards. There were already existing Scottish Government dashboards. They were all available on GitHub. And it took us about 5 months from when we started to when we published it. Next slide, please. But before we published it, we did lots and lots of testing to make sure that the dashboard actually worked the way we wanted to. So I met up with 34 users, so that was civil servants, statisticians at the Scottish Government, and I just went through with them, sat down next to them, and we went through the beta version. We also had a testing day where we brought in school kids, families, friends, just to make sure that we weren't just testing the website on statisticians that are quite used to playing around with data. And we had a question sheet, and they had to use the dashboard to find the answers to the questions. And I was delighted that even the school children got the questions right. But we also got really useful feedback from this. So someone said it would be great if there was a search bar, because there are a lot of questions to scroll through. So if I could just search for like a keyword that I want to know about. So then we went back to the drawing board. We had to Google, how do you put in a search bar? So that was a really good exercise, very much worthwhile. Next step, please. So I'll talk you through the dashboard. Oh, so this is actually, I made a video tutorial, and this was like right at the beginning of the first lockdown. So I was sitting at home in my flat doing this voiceover, and it's a bit weird that I can like hear my own voice on like the Scottish Government dashboard. But anyways, you can just dismiss that. I'll talk you through a live version. If you can close the yellow bar at the top, it says that it's still a beta version. Perfect. Okay, so this is the what you see once you go onto the dashboard. I tried to make this look like a house. I tried to have a lot of fun with it because it's household survey. I don't think I succeeded very well. So I was thinking last night, okay, what should I show you? And at the moment, I'm working on something very different. I'm working on a big housing project. So I'll show you something that I found quite interesting. So if we go to neighborhoods, we get to the survey results page, and this is where you have all your topics, your questions. You can compare it in lots of different ways. So we'll go to table 4.8. So this is a question that they ask in the survey, and that's about how much do you enjoy the neighborhood that you live in. And this is compared to based on your housing situation. So if you own your own house or if you rent. And as you can see, there's a big difference between how happy people that own their own house are with their neighborhood compared to those that either rent socially or privately. It's not much of a difference between socially and privately rented. So for example, 87% of those that own their house and live in it think that they live in a neighborhood where people can be trusted, compared to only 63 or 64% of those that live in rented accommodation. If you're more of a visual kind of person, you can see this in a chart. So you just go up there. Yep. And it gives you a chart. You can hover over the confidence intervals. Yeah, and it shows you the upper and lower confidence limit. If you don't want all the bars, you can also just, if you click on the top one, and then not the second one, but all the three. Oh, no, keep that one. And then you delete all the other ones. So click on the ones below. So that gives you a graph of what we were just talking about. You can also, you don't have to do it now, but you can also download this graph. You can do lots of different things. If you go back to table, please. And maybe we want, seeing that we're in Aberdeen, maybe we want to compare. So go down to Aberdeen City. And then we want to compare it. So compare by. We want to compare it to a local authority. And we want to compare it with Aberdeenshire. Because what the previous story told us was that, okay, so here, if you had just looked at Aberdeen City, for example, you might get the idea that, ooh, living in rented accommodation means that you're way less happy about your neighbourhood than someone that owns your house. But you can compare it to a rural place such as Aberdeenshire, and these tables give you the, if you go down, there's another table. So this is Aberdeenshire versus Aberdeen City, and it tells you with the different coloured boxes where you have statistically significant differences between the two local authorities. So for example, you can see that actually people that live in social rented accommodation in rural Scotland are almost just as happy about the trustworthiness of the neighbours as those that live in the city. And for example, people that live in social rented rural Scotland actually find that there are more places where they can meet up and socialise than those that own a house in the rural Scotland. So those are just an example of things that you can play around with on this website. And I think it's a great starting place of just exploring different things. Of course, there's a limitation to what you can do in a crosstab, but it's really, really, really interesting. So if we go back to the presentation, please. And then next slide, please. So did it make a difference? It actually did. So we had a widened audience. We could track the server time, the active server time. And in the first month of it being launched, we had 190 hours, which is like an average of 6 hours a day. And we're like, this can't be true. There's something going on, but we did check it. And we don't know how many users that was, and it definitely wasn't me just using it on my laptop, I promise. So that was really great results. And it also optimized the team because this now takes a week rather than 3 months to produce, to upload yearly data. I think there's also an improvement of transparency of the data because we have our code on GitHub. Users, it's much easier to use, so there are more people that can use it. You don't need to have a software and being able to use and create your own tables. And it was also shortlisted for the SGSSS Research Impact and Knowledge Exchange Award 2020. So I'll just make 2 final comments, and that is, if you want to do this, go for it because it's so much fun. It's a really creative process. And if I had more time, I would love to create my own dashboard for my PhD data. I think that would be great. But I haven't done that yet. But thank you so much.